back in the garage once again. So I did Monster's radiator quite recently, and I noticed at the time that there was a bit of white stuff in the oil, and I hoped that it would clear the more that I started riding her again. But the other day when I was coming back home, she kind of lost power as I was accelerating out of a bend and started to feel quite jittery. So I pulled over, I noticed the oil warning light was on, and I killed the engine. But thinking back, I'm not sure if she stalled just as I went to cut the engine, or whether the oil light had come on before the engine stopped. So I'm not quite sure about that, but I'm thinking it's two things. I changed the oil because I thought, well, it's best to do that, change the filter just in case there's any contamination in the oil. So I did that yesterday, drained it all out, put new filter in, put new oil in, and started her up, got her up to normal working temperature, and literally straight away there was white stuff in the window and on the oil stick, which I'll show you in a minute because I've just warmed her back up, ready to re-drain the oil, which moves me on to what I'm going to be doing next. So I think there's two issues, or it could be one of two, or it could be both. I'm going to do the water pump, just because the last time that was done was back in Russia, when I was travelling, and they did a great job. It got me through the rest of my trip and in the following few years, but I don't entirely know what they did, whether they just replaced the seal. So I'm going to buy the kit and do that. It also could be the head gasket. I'm hoping it isn't, so I'm going to do the water pump first because that would need doing anyway. Even if she was running completely fine, it's probably best that I replace that. So I've just got up to temperature, going to drain the oil, drain the coolant, start trying to take the bits off. I'm expecting some of the bolts to be seized. I'm expecting it to be a right pain in the arse getting the like the oil hose off, like a metal hose. And I've seen a couple of videos, they really struggle with it and they end up cutting it off and putting on a flexible hose. I don't really want to do that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's in there. I'm kind of hoping I will see a damaged water pump because then it will answer all my questions. If you have any ideas what could be causing that juttering riding, like the loss of power, please drop me a comment so I can kind of investigate other options. I am going to take out the spark plug, check the air filter, the air box at the same time. Now I'm taking off all the panels because I might as well. Yeah, wish me luck. So I'm not sure if you can see that well. It was actually looking a bit worse yesterday, but there was this kind of creamy coating on it, which you could also see through the side window here. So yeah, let's crack on. Let's drain the oil and drain the coolant. So I'm just removing the footrest, and that'll make it easier then to take off the casing, but first we want to remove the gear lever. And the next step is to remove this banjo bolt here from the oil line, which I'm not looking forward to, but let's give it a go. So on the banjo bolt there's two of these washers, and they will need replacing. So the bolt in here is a right pain to get out. I found that using my T-bar was the only way to really do it because everything else wasn't quite flat on the head of the bolt, and I was worried that I was going to round it off, especially if it's a little bit seized in there. There we go. So there are the bolts removed from the starter motor. Now I'm going to take out these three bolts here to try and get off this cover from the water pump. So all 13 bolts I think it was are out. I'm going to try and dislodge the case now by using a rubber mallet to tap it. And I'm hoping it will come off fairly easily. I'm doing what everyone ends up doing. I'm cutting through the oil line because I thought for some reason I would be able to have like a magical touch and I'd be able to wiggle it around and get the casing off, but I couldn't. So I'm using a little hacksaw. I'm going to cut through it, I'm going to pull everything off and then stop for the night, have a cup of tea and think about what I'm going to do about putting a new bit of tubing in. I never want to see that again. Never. Right, here we go. Little gasket.